Hello and welcome back to a brand new video. My name is Tony King. This is part of my monthly review series of videos where I go through different months of the year and break down 5 to 7 images from that particular month. This is from the month of April in 2025. I took 13 photo albums in the month of April, which is a very solid haul. And let's see if I got anything that I thought was decent. Starting out with this image from Piedmont Park in Atlanta, which I'm super happy with. I really like kind of this super low, let's call it a horizon line, kind of at the top of the hill where the trees kind of start. And so at the bottom, centered up, you can almost tell, like you can tell he's there, but not super much. It's a young man doing Tai Chi in the park. And then the very vibrant, strong greens of the trees over in the center. Such nice color to me is one of the main things that I really love from this image. The skyline kind of is in a nice place where it's kind of coming to a point over kind of a bright overcast day. So I was very happy with kind of the contrast of kind of bright, kind of not super vibrant overcast day and the super vibrant greens of the trees. This is another day, but still at Piedmont Park. Super like the green here and the vibrance of those greens. You know, this young woman sitting on a park bench by herself. In the context, this was during I think it was the Dogwood Festival or something. There was a lot of people around. She was kind of having her peaceful moment, listening to music on her headphones. I think she might have been painting or something in her lap or something. I don't really know. I like how I was able to capture her kind of with the darker trees, creating a nice frame around her so that she's very noticeable, and the kind of the bright side, the brightest part of the image being what's directly behind her. So she's very isolated and it's not necessarily lonely. It's kind of like solitude. Like she chose to be out here by herself. She doesn't seem necessarily sad to me. Maybe she does to you, but you know, she's got her things. She's kind of, you know, sitting on the lake on a park bench, kind of having a moment to herself, which I think is very nice. Next up, still Piedmont Park. I went there like 3 or 4 times in the month of April for different festivals. There's this man that was out there in such a big jacket and it was like actually rather hot, and he was just feeding this goose, and I liked how the light was kind of hitting the top of his head, his shoulders. I mean, I took a couple of different takes of it, one where you could sort of see the side of his face, which I liked, but then I didn't like how the goose was. This was kind of the best of both worlds. You know, on a better day I would stay a little bit longer and try to get a little bit more. That's one thing that I could improve on. You know, I like how blue and smooth the water is, like how you can see like the goose is like looking for what he just threw, and he's like kind of, there's action of him throwing something at the same time, and how the light hits his shoulder to really kind of accentuate him. Overall, really like the image. I'm trying to use that sidewalk in a diagonal way as my window of the image. That's kind of a concept that I'm trying to work on in my photography, to have these kind of contextualizing windows that oftentimes just the shape kind of in the foreground, but in this case, it's kind of in the background. Another image from one of the festivals I went to. It's in black and white, very kind of harsh light on the people here, but then super dark immediately after, especially on the left side. And these people walking through. I really wish I took another take where that one lady wasn't kind of scratching her back, but what can you do? This is what I got. I do really like kind of how there's the action, the kind of peaceful direction action, and kind of this woman who's in the main focus on the left is detached from the other group. You know, I don't really know what that means. In reality, they were probably just completely separate people, but to me, kind of gives a feeling of like loneliness in a way, like not in such a somber way, but kind of not feeling left out, but not feeling like you're part of a particular group. That's kind of the feeling I get from this image, and I like kind of the brilliance of the light on her hair and stuff, so I think that looks really nice. This picture doesn't really feel like 2025 to me. Solid image. I think there's a story and a feeling there. Maybe that really resonates with me more than somebody else out there, but you know, let me know what you think about this particular image in the comments. Next up is a landscape image from Arabia Mountain, which is where I went to on a hike for my birthday. Super lovely place to hike. I want to go back, especially in the fall, see all the fall colors on the leaves. There's all these, you know, unique, like interesting little red pools of whatever plant those are, and these rocks that you can just kind of like walk on for hours and be like, what? Like, you know, this is so unique in a way. Like I'd never been to a place exactly like it. I've been to somewhat similar places, but this was, you know, for something so near to Atlanta, it's like, that's over here. Like, wow. You know, I like my overexposed, very bright skies, and it was a cloudy day. So you can see kind of how the fog kind of goes on those trees in the very far back. kind of on this horizon line. We got this main tree kind of sticking up is the main focus, right off the edge of the rocks, sort of, and it's kind of standing tall, kind of an interesting element. And overall, I think this is a very strong landscape to me. At some point, I tried to crop this to 2:1 ratio to cut out some of the sky. Like, I look at a lot of photo critiquing online, and a lot of people, when there's a big sky like this, are like, you should kind of crop down the sky. Like, maybe you don't need that much. I disagree. For my own personal taste, I really like a lot of sky, especially in an image like this. I think it just adds to the scale of the mountain, the tree, the place where you are. So I wouldn't change anything of this image right now. Maybe I would hope that the tree was in better focus or better quality, but in terms of the composition, very happy with it. Next up, also for my birthday weekend, we had some company and they wanted to go to the world famous, I don't know if it's world famous, but at least famous in Atlanta, the Georgia Aquarium. I think the biggest one in North America. And it was a challenge for me because I don't particularly like aquariums or zoos or things like that. I don't love seeing animals in cages. It kind of doesn't sit right with me. But so I was like, well, I got to bring my camera, so I have like something to do outside of just like looking at things, and how can I get some decent images out of this? And in the end, I did get a handful of things that I really liked, and this is probably my favorite one from that trip. It's just the sea turtle going to the lady with the phone was like, there's like an interaction there that I thought was pretty cool to see. In such a, like in a zoo, you don't really see zoo. It's an aquarium. In an aquarium, you don't really see that sort of thing happen often, or maybe you do. I don't really go to them. So this little interaction with the turtle looking at the woman and the woman kind of taking a picture or video, whatever she's doing, was kind of sweet. The only thing I would change is I wish the fish weren't behind the turtle, weren't like right there, kind of coming out of its head and going into the lady's head, so that it would be like a more isolated, intimate moment. But what can you do? You can't control the animals, can you? So and the turtle's shell on the back and the top of its head is quite overexposed in a noticeable way, which is not necessarily what I want. I like overexposed, but there's a little bit too much. So yeah, but overall, solid image. Could trade it out if I had better stuff. It's an honest representation of what I did in April. And last, and probably in terms of quality least, but in terms of the story behind it, not the least. So this is a rose or some sort of flower just, in my apartment complex. And you might be wondering, like, what kind of quality picture is that? This is terrible. So I actually took this lens on a homemade DIY. I took this photo on a homemade DIY wooden lens. I made a video on it when I made it. So definitely check that out. Very fascinating to like kind of see how the glass kind of affects it. It's like magnifying glasses in a wooden tube that I built. So fixed focal range, low quality, like the graininess, I don't really think comes from the quality of the image, but just because there's a bunch of sawdust on the lens. So watch the video for the context behind that. But this was my favorite image that I got off of it. Like there's a lot of chromatic aberration on the lower left side. It's not like super sharp, but it's sharp enough to see what it is. And you can see some details and like let's call it fluffiness on the stem of the flower. And so I'm actually like, there's a lot of like character and feeling in this image because of kind of the soft focus and how things are kind of coming in and out of lightness, like in the aberration parts. And it's kind of a nostalgic vintage, like romantic vibe that I'm super happy with, actually. So strong image for especially for what it is, like a homemade lens. Like who's doing that every day? Like not even me. I did it like a couple of days. So still have the lens, still want to shoot with it more because super fascinating experience and a really fun project to do. So that is the month of April in review. Honestly, decent month. Definitely not my worst month, but for the amount of photo albums that I posted that month, honestly wish I could say I got some overall like better stuff, but definitely not my worst month. I definitely have a couple images in there that I really like that like make it into like an Atlanta collection. This was very Atlanta centered month in terms of like actually going out to a place that is Atlanta, Piedmont Park, for example, and not just kind of going to get wildlife, which is kind of the crutch that I fall back to sometimes too often because it's easy it's close by and I don't have to worry about where I'm going to park, who am I going to get, where am I going to get it. Like sometimes I need to do more of that and be a little bit more courageous. And I was trying to do that going to some of these festivals and didn't quite really get that much in terms of that, but I did get people shots here and I did get Atlanta shots here. So I need to think back and use that courage more often and really create more work that way. That is kind of my takeaway. Solid images. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel for more monthly reviews, but mostly more photography content in general. I've been Tony King. I'll see you next time.